butterfly in the sky.
My classroom has 31 students in it. 10 of these students are on academic IEPs, and one student is on a behavioral IEP. The 10 academic IEP students are mostly reading related. However, there are a few with math goals in their IEPs. The reading block of my class consists of small group work, book clubs and book club discussions, as well as reading packets and daily reading of accelerated readers. Our students throughout the year have been working on making inferences, summarizing text, analyzing story elements, thinking about and making meaning of themes and topics. So these are some things that I want to pursue with this text set. During the reading block, my IEP students also leave the classroom. They go to a leveled reading group. So the students that remain in the class during the reading time are generally at 5th grade level. There are some that are struggling and they are far below 5th grade, and there's some that are far above 5th grade as well. So there's a wide range of students and a lot of different needs to meet. The content area I chose is social studies. My students have not had a lot of social studies work throughout the year. A lot of it has consisted of and been relegated to packets, and that's about it. So I'm hoping to make an enriching text set / activity unit focusing on social studies. I picked the social studies standard 5.10, which is comparing and contrasting movements of people, goods, culture, ideas, and other patterns in the United States, and all while considering past, present, and future trends. So those are some things we're going to be investigating. And I chose 2 ELA standards. First one is 5.9 RL, compare and contrast stories in the same genre on their approaches to themes and topics. And I also chose RI 5.6, which is analyze multiple accounts of the same event or topic, noting similarities and differences in the point of views that they represent. I also threw in a social justice standard because part of the unit will be students investigating their past. So I know about my family history and culture, and about current and past contributions of people in my main identity group. So that is an identity social justice standard that they will be using. Previously, the last social study units that my students have been working in was when the Vikings came to the New World and they set up some settlements, and also colonial times when European powers came to the New World and began colonizing it. So mostly students read from packets and answered questions about Vikings and colonial times, and that was about it. So what I plan to do is to extend the idea that people come to the United States for many different reasons. The chief reasons being economic, political, or sometimes religious reasons. So we're going to be thinking about those in context of the past, but we're also going to be thinking about modern day immigration and refugees coming to the United States and what their reasons are. So we're going to be kind of making that present and past connection, thinking about who's moving, why are they moving. One of the driving questions that's going to be a big part of this unit is, why do you think people come to the US today? My students will be able to explain why they think people came to the United States in the past, during colonial or Viking times, but now we'll be thinking about why they're coming to the US today and why this is something they should think about, And we're also going to be looking at different immigration and refugee stories from around the world, not just the US, so that way we can compare and contrast some different stories that are simultaneously occurring to the ones that are here. So it'll be interesting to investigate all these different narratives and see where they link up, where they diverge, and how they're similar to our own American past. So for the text set, since my driving question is why do people come to the United States, and what makes the United States so desirable, I thought that this book, This Land is Our Land, A History of American Immigration, would be a good starting point. So this is something that a teacher could read aloud to students, or you could also photocopy pages and chapters out of it and discuss them as a class or in small groups. The thing I like most about this book is that it breaks up into different chapters, which all correspond to a different time period in America's history. So you have the beginnings, the other Europe arrives, the other shore, which is dealing with immigrants from Asia. There's a chapter about immigrants from South America, as well as chapter 5 and 6 are talking about refugees and from World War II to present day. So it gives you a kind of a really big context to work with. This right here is the selected timeline of immigration history. It goes all the way back to pre-colonial days up to now. So it gives students a really, really in-depth timeline that they can go back and do research on or just read about. So this is a good book to start out this unit with. The next book that I would use is titled What is a Refugee? Oops. It's a simple chapter book. However, it explains what a refugee is and why refugees move around the globe. So it goes into the different political, economical, and religious reasons why people move around. So it's a good book just to get a plain definition out there of what a refugee is and what immigration means to different people around the world. Another book is What Was Ellis Island? So this just talks about what was Ellis Island. Gives a lot of background and context as to what people were going through as they came through the island and into the United States for the first time. This book works well with another text that I'm going to be using, which is on a website, and it's a virtual tour of Ellis Island. So this supplements that activity really well. After we do some of the kind of background into refugees and immigration, we start looking at modern day stories. It's a story about different refugees and how they leave their countries and why they leave their countries. The next book is called La Frontera. I think somebody talked about this book in another class. I can't remember who did, but somebody did. It's a story about a young boy and his dad going from Mexico to America. Adrift at Sea, a Vietnamese boy's story of survival, is about a boy who is leaving Vietnam during the Vietnam War and going to Malaysia. It's another good story. And then I have this book as well, Lost and Found Cat. And this is a true story about an Iraqi girl and her family who flee Iraq, and they leave behind their cat, and the people that they left the cat behind with go on this journey to reunite the cat with the girl. And it's a true story. It's really nice. Many of the texts that we will be reading and looking at have biographical and informational knowledge in the back of the books. This is from La Frontera story, and it shows the route that the boy and his father took from Mexico all the way to Kerrville, Texas. So This would be one opportunity for students to investigate either their own past or the past of somebody from one of the texts that they are reading about. They would do research on either themselves or a character from the text, and they would do essentially what is presented here. They would create a route on a map of where that character or where their history or lineage is from, where they originated and where they ended up, and then give a brief explanation about the journey and provide details about what occurred during that time. So that's one activity that students could do with this book or with the other ones in the text set. I'm justifying this text set in a few different ways. One, my class rarely gets any social studies instruction, so just providing them with these very diverse perspectives is a good thing, I would say. I think it's going to support the learners in achieving the standard goals because they do have to do a lot of analyzing, a lot of comparing and contrasting, and they also have to support what they're going to be thinking about with evidence. I know that teaching about refugees and immigration is a very large topic, and it's hard to encompass it all in a single unit. So my main question would be, what parts do you guys think would be most important to teach, and are there any other relevant texts that you know about that could contribute to this text set?
I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.